This is StoryBeat, Storytellers on Storytelling, an exploration into how master storytellers and artists develop and build brilliant stories and works of art that people everywhere love and admire. So join us as we discover how talented creators of all kinds find success in the worlds of imagination and entertainment. Here now is your host, Steve Cuden.
Thanks for joining us on StoryBeat. We're coming to you from the Center for Media Innovation on the campus of Point Park University in the heart of downtown Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. If you like this podcast, please take a moment to give us a rating or review on whatever app or platform you're listening to. Your support helps us bring more great StoryBeat episodes to you. Well, my guest today, multi-award-winning singer-songwriter-actress Grace Garland, has been described as the Tina Turner of jazz due to her energy and passion. She brings a unique fusion of jazz and contemporary R&B to her sultry lyrics. Grace's music is an intimate experience that speaks to women, allowing for reflection, empowerment, and feel-good moments. Grace is known for her stunning solo performances and for working with her group, the G-Spot Band, as well as a variety of musicians including the late Phyllis Hyman, jazz flutist Bobbi Humphrey, Grammy award-winning songwriter Julie Gold, the Carl Orrie Trio, Peter Cincotti, Rob Thomas, and John Mayer. When she's not singing, Grace's voice can be heard on countless TV and radio spots, most notably with actor James Earl Jones and the legendary blues guitarist B.B. King. Grace's film and TV credits include Q's mom in the hip-hop cult classic Juice, Thicker Than Blood with Dan Futterman, 3 seasons in the sketch comedy ensemble of the Apollo Comedy Hour, and the relationship therapist Dr. Love in the romantic comedy 30 Years to Life, starring former Saturday Night Live and 30 Rock regular Tracy Morgan. Please also check out Grace's debut solo album, Lovers Never Lie in Bed, and also Grace Garland, Lady G. So for those reasons, and many more, I'm beyond honored and truly thrilled to welcome the exceptionally talented Grace Garland to StoryBeat today. Grace, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Steve.
It's exciting to have you on. So you've been performing for a while now in your life. How did all this musical magic begin? Where did this start?
Well, they tell me that I came out of the womb knowing that I was going to be a performer, so I have to believe everyone who said that.
Were you singing? Were you singing at that time coming out of the womb?
I think so, because everyone says it, so it must be true. But the funny thing is that once I, started wanting to really do it, then all the family members and everybody said, no, you can't do that. You have to do something else. So I would just go back and forth. Well, I'll be an actress. No, you can't do that. Well, I'll be a singer. No, you can't do that. And I just guess I didn't listen and became both.
You went in many directions, as did I. I mean, I understand where you're coming from. You have many different passions.
Yeah.
And I think that's how it works. So did you have training as a young person?
I didn't major in music. I majored in English because it was easy for me. Kind of lazy that way, I guess. But as far as training, I tried training, but they were always trying to make me a soprano, and I'm a very proud alto. And so most of my training came from just doing the work, and I would even carry a microphone with me all the time. So if I ran into a band somewhere, I would ask if I could sing, and then they would give me that look like, oh, yeah, you're a singer. And I'd say yes, and then, oh, we don't have a microphone. I said, oh, I have one, and I would pull it out of my purse. And then and then they found out I really could sing, and it was always a shock.
Is this even as a teenager?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I was the one that, even before then, how you see the little kids that are always in front of the band at the park or whatever.
Right.
And as a teenager, if you went to a restaurant or went to a park or went anywhere and there was a band, I was always the one with my behind right in the front, and no one could move me until the last song was played.
Well, you definitely are not a soprano. You've got a very buttery sounding alto, that's for sure.
Thank you, Steve. But they were always trying to make me a soprano. oh, but you would be a lovely soprano. It's like, no, God made altos too.
Yeah.
Leave God's work alone.
Absolutely. Oh, we gotta have some altos in there. There's no question.
Yeah.
That's what gives it that nice I don't know what you call it. It's kind of like a nice bass to the song. Yeah, it's the bottom. And without that, the song then wants to go flying off in another direction. That's why we have bass, you know?
Yes. But they never say that to a guy. They don't try to make every guy a tenor. You know?
That's true. That's true. Although it's really hard to find a really good alto male.
Oh, is it?
You know, it's really, or baritone, you know, what they call a baritone.
Yeah. You're right. Especially nowadays, I think that there are more tenors and everything now. That's the thing to be.
Yeah, that is.
Especially with all of the reality shows, everyone's waiting for you to hit the power song, big key last note, when you're screaming and all that kind of stuff.
Well, a lot of that comes out of rock and roll, doesn't it? Where you want those big power notes.
Yeah, except they're not doing rock and roll; they're doing it on everything.
This is true. So, for many in your line of business, music is a calling. Do you think it's a calling for you?
Yes. Actually, music has always been my first love, but I didn't do well in my early years out on tour. My personality did not lend itself to being on the road all the time.
Why is that?
It was very lonely. No one ever talks about the loneliness of the road, which is, I guess, a lot of times why adult people travel with their families or have their wives or husbands or significant others join the band as photographers and I guess now social media people or that kind of thing, because it's a very lonely existence even if you're with your band. Plus, then you just get tired of the people you're with, and then there are the little petty arguments and things. And at one point I was with some girl group kind of thing, and I was considered the entertainer,
right.
But I wasn't considered the pretty one. So the pretty one was always getting all of the attention from the band, and I was sort of like, left out there alone and everything. And I ended up coming off the road. But the good thing is that I didn't want to get out of show business and found doing commercials.
Right.
And that kept me, which actually turned out to be a better avenue for a longer length of time. Doing radio and TV commercials.
Well, it's probably a little more steady.
Yeah, especially at that time. And plus, you get your pension and health and all kinds of things
right.
that you have to work a little harder in the music industry to get.
Oh, well, it's, I think anyone who manages to go through a career in the performing arts and can actually make a career out of a long time of it, that's someone to admire.
Thank you.
And
I agree.
yeah, it's hard. I mean, it's really hard to do.
No, it's very hard. And people, seem to think like, oh, well, you're not really working because you're an actress, or you're not really working because you're a singer, or you only work a few hours a day, but the work is really 24/7, and you have to carve out time to be a human being and to have a personal life, and because you're always thinking, you're always working. You leave the house to do anything. I remember at one point I went to therapy, and it was the hardest thing because it was at 6 o'clock on a Monday, and so you had to still go kind of looking good because you might run into a casting director or a producer or a director on your way to having your mind cleansed. So, you may be feeling like shit, but you couldn't look like it.
You always got to be on your best. That's the other thing about being a performer, an actor. You have to always be looking your best in the street.
Yeah, which is harder now, again, with social media, because people are always trying to catch you, stars without makeup and, all that kind of stuff. But deep down, even without makeup, you better have a little something on, some lip gloss with glitter.
Lip gloss with glitter.
Yeah.
Is the key to a long career, glitter?
That's it. We have solved it. As long as you have lip gloss with glitter, you'll be a star.
I don't know how I've made it all these years.
Oh, Steve. See, that's why we had to talk today.
So who were your earliest inspirations? When you were a very young person, who was it that you looked up to and admired and wanted to emulate?
Without a doubt. And I got to meet her. and all I could do was cry. I couldn't even, when you see those movies where your voice just leaves you and you can't speak? That happened to me. So the legendary Miss Nancy Wilson.
Oh, really?
And my parents would play jazz all the time in the house, and especially Nancy Wilson. So I would listen to her over and over and over and over again, and would always say, one day I'm going to meet Nancy Wilson. And when I meet Nancy Wilson, I'm going to ask her blah, blah, blah. And when I meet Nancy Wilson, I'm going to say blah, blah, blah. And when I meet Nancy Wilson, well, Steve.
You couldn't speak.
I met Nancy Wilson. It actually was kind of funny because I've taken it out of my bio because the show's not even on the air anymore, but for almost 6 years, I was on the daytime soap opera All My Children.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. So I played a character called Vera, who worked in Foxy's. It was a sleazy bar. And I wore a costume similar to a Playboy bunny outfit, except with a big foxtail on the back of it, and ears. But anyway, so I went to a concert, in a club, like the Blue Note, and it was the Blue Note, not like the Blue Note. And I asked if I could go backstage because, of course, I knew who her manager was because I love Nancy Wilson. And so he was, well, I'll see. So then I said, I used to carry postcards with my costume on and say, well, could you give this to her? And when he saw that, he knew that she was a fan of All My Children. But it still never occurred to me that she would know me. So I walked backstage at the Blue Note, which at that time the dressing room is just the office at the Blue Note in New York.
Right.
And I walk in, and she says, Miss Garland, it is a pleasure to meet
you. Ooh, wow.
And that's all. And everything that I knew on how to communicate with human beings left. And I just stood there, and tears rolling down my face, and I'm trying my best to say words. None are coming out. But she was so gracious and so wonderful, and she said, Miss Garland, I know you from All My Children. That just made it worse.
Wow.
Then I was sobbing.
Wow.
Because in my mind I'm going, Nancy Wilson knows me. Oh, my God. But I couldn't even say it out loud.
But she only knew you with a big foxtail.
Yes. How did she recognize me? And so, but the nice thing, she was very nice and waited till I calmed down, and we chit-chatted for a moment, and I said, well, may I ask you a question? I said, of course. And I plopped down on the floor, of the office, and I said, how do you deal with the public? I said, when you're on TV, they just say the most awful things to you, and they just, insult you and this and that. And she says, Miss Garland, you have to remember you are coming into their house every day.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on stage. They can't say the same things to me.
That's true. They can't.
Yeah.
Unless they're interrupting the show or getting them backstage.
Right. And it helped because from then on, I just remembered when Nancy Wilson said about that I go into their house every day, and she says, and be polite, always be a lady.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm not always a lady, but I try my best, Steve.
Well, there's, it is interesting that there are virtually every brand of person in the world becomes performer, and you find performers who are very gracious and open to the public, and those who are closed off to it. And it's always interesting to see who manages the public, how they manage it. So
because I've met a couple that weren't that way.
Exactly, and so have I. Yeah, there are definitely people out there who have big careers and they're famous, but they're not nice people.
They're not nice people. You know who else was really, really nice? That I was so glad that he was really nice was Lionel Richie.
Mm.
Yeah.
He seems like he'd be a very nice person.
Yeah, because when I met him, I told him the story of how I was too shy to ask for a picture. And again, I was on All My Children at this point again when I met him. And he said, what? You didn't get a picture? I said, no, I was too shy. I said, but you've changed my life because I've never been shy since then to ever ask someone, would you take a picture of me? This was before the whole, selfies and all that kind of
Sure.
stuff that now taking a picture is the norm.
Yeah.
But he said, well, we have to be sure to take one now, and I have it right now on my wall in my house with us laughing backstage at Radio City Music Hall.
Well, and then there, of course, there are the really magnanimous ones like Lionel Richie, like Nancy Wilson, who will go out of their way because they know that you admire and like them, and they don't want you to feel anything but their admiration and love back.
Yeah.
And I think that that's important, that folks that go into this business, especially those that want to be exposed, like on stage, that you realize that the public is the reason why you're there. Yes.
And anyone who's ever been to any of my shows knows I love my audience. When I was in Russia, a young lady was a jazz singer, biracial, but she, lives in Russia. Her friends all came to the show, and they told me, in between sets, that she sings. And I said, really? I said, okay. And so at some point, when we went back on, I brought her on the stage, and she couldn't let her sing, a part of the song, some jazz song, I forgot what, and she was just like, I've lived my life for this moment. Thank you so much. But to me, that was the right thing to do. I would have killed to be able to hum along with Nancy Wilson on the stage.
Sure.
Or off.
Sure. That makes sense.
Just hum. I didn't even have to sing.
So, all right. So now I'm curious in terms of at what point in your singing career, such that it is because you started at such a young age and you were volunteering yourself for various shows, at what point did you think to yourself, you know what, I'm really good at this. This is something that I'm going to do for the rest of my life?
I don't remember the exact moment. I just know that an opportunity presented itself to sing with a band, and I took it, and it sort of started from there. And like I said, I was traveling for a while, and I didn't like that, and then I went into acting and doing commercials, and also did some singing commercials that won a couple of Clios and that kind of thing. And then you sort of commit to it without even knowing you're doing it, that it's just part of what you do, and making the decision that if I'm going to work, because you know how everyone says you have to have something to fall back on?
Right.
But I made the decision that whatever I fall back on was still going to be in the industry. And that, because I made a terrible waitress. I was never a waitress. The closest I came to it was working at McDonald's.
Right.
And that was, terrible waitress. I didn't do well at working at supermarkets at the cashier thing. I knew everything I had to do had to be music related or acting related.
Well, if you were here in the studio, I'd give you a high five because I was a terrible waiter. I get it.
You get it? I know. No.
Yeah, no, is correct.
Not my thing. I mean, I admire the people that have the temperament and the personality that can do it, but
yes. But yes. All right. So how do you work with your voice? Do you have a regular routine for working on your voice?
Not the routine so much. I just sing a lot. Like especially when you're doing, I've had music residency at one club for over 10 years.
Wow.
And so when you're doing 3-hour sets, which, are more, if you're doing it properly, it's about 10 songs per set. And I just sing a lot, and it's a duo. So it's not like there's a whole band that you do, there are a whole lot of solos and everything else and all that kind of stuff. So I sing a lot. And also, most importantly, which was something that, thank God for my doctor, Dr. Kessler, who was the same doctor that's in the Madonna Truth or Dare video, by the way.
Oh, really?
That's the only reason he was able to stick that horrible instrument down my throat when I was having vocal problems, because I was holding the video because I wanted him to autograph it. And so no matter what happened, I just kept saying, but at the end of it, I'm going to ask him to autograph my DVD. At the end of it, I'm going to ask him to autograph my DVD. I don't care what happens. So is diet. Now, it turns out not that you asked me this, Steve, but you're going to get it anyway.
Yeah, go for it.
It turns out that the thing that's the staple for singers of honey and lemon are deadly to me.
Really?
That I'm like, I guess sort of allergic, and that he said never, never, don't ever, ever. And and how singers will gargle with vinegar and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
No vinegar, no lemon and honey. And so when I was doing an off-Broadway show, I could barely speak, but I still performed somehow, because of technique and everything like that you learn to sing around it, above it, or just speak it. But anyway, because of him, I couldn't have any citrus, things that you never think have citrus, like ketchup. Like, to this day, I can't have ketchup.
Really?
It will affect, because of the acid reflux.
Oh.
And, that people don't, or singers especially, that sometimes they think they have a cold or just a lot of phlegm, and then it turns out that all of that, they do, but it's all laying on your vocal cords. And thank God that I knew this when I was in Russia, and that even though all of television is in Russian, they had the word Gaviscon that I understood, and I was able to save myself, for a concert, because everything has dill on it, and it turns out dill is deadly to my voice. I had to learn to say that. That was one of the first things I learned to say in Russian was no dill. Biezakropa, biezakropa, biezakropa.
Is that fairly common for other singers too?
More than they think. When I've mentioned it to other singers and bring it to their attention, they're like, "Oh, I wouldn't have thought of that." That there are things that you eat that, like I can't have. I can have it, but it's not good, especially if I have a lot of singing to do. Oranges or orange juice or, anything citrus like that. And during that time, when I was doing the off-Broadway show, I got so skinny because I was fearing food, because you would read the label and everything has citrus. Even teas that you go, well, blackberry, yeah, that's citrus. Oh, well, what about, no, that's citrus. So I was drinking, like, warm water and, and even salad. I couldn't have salad dressing, because salad dressing, no matter which one it is, has citrus.
Wow.
So I was, like, so skinny, which probably a lot of people think is good, but no, it was not fun at all.
Well, I think this is a really interesting and great lesson for those who are thinking about having careers as singers, that if you're having trouble with your voice, it might be your diet. Yes, without a doubt. And for years, prior to, finding this out, I would have all of what everybody thought was a sore throat or something, and I had all this phlegm. And I went to doctor after doctor, and, they would say, oh, well, it's just, it's your imagination, everything from it's your imagination to, oh, well, just drink more water. And even the way you sleep, Steve, that you have to, that when you sleep, because of the way your intestinal tract goes and all that kind of stuff, right,
that you have to sleep on your left side so that things digest well, and really don't eat anything, not because of diet, diet meaning skinny, but after 6 o'clock if possible, especially don't lay down. Yes. And it's so helpful. And that's why people laugh at me saying, how can you sing how can you talk at, 8 o'clock in the morning, and how can you this? Because of him.
Huh.
My throat god.
Your throat god. I think that's very interesting. I don't think I've ever heard anybody say that it was diet before, and it could easily be that for lots of singers. Yeah, because everybody swears by the lemon and honey and letting the honey drizzle down your throat. Deadly. No. How about that?
And yeah.
So what do you do before you go on? Do you have a regular routine prior to a show?
Maybe if I'm feeling a little dry or something, I'll gargle with just plain salt, warm salt water.
And how do you warm up? What do you do? Just the gargle, or you just start humming?
I just start singing.
I see.
I don't really. I used to earlier in my career. I would do a few vocal exercises, the la 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 and Ande Felice and all that kind of stuff. But I don't really do it now, except on tour. because, you're not resting well, you're not eating well, you're not sleeping well. So I just sort of will test it early in the morning and do a couple of little, riffs or something to make sure that the voice is there. Yeah.
So when you're doing live performance, what would you say are the biggest challenges for you? What do you, are you always working against, and how do you solve those problems?
Okay. It depends on where you are. In the States, it's more that being a vocalist, a performer of color, you have to convince people that you're not Aretha Franklin, you're not Patti LaBelle, and who you're not, and so it depends on where you are. Mm-hmm. In foreign countries, it's sort of accepted, that you're a person of color, but you are the American singer who happen. It's like they refer to you as American singer who's black, yeah. But here you're a black singer, so
right.
So yeah, and so you're an American first, and you're a singer, and then right, she's black too, so which is a plus and everything, and so they accept that you're a jazz singer much more readily in foreign countries than here in the States. Here in the States, you sort of have to prove it more. Mm-hmm. That no, I'm not going to break out into and I'm telling you I'm not going, or new attitude in the middle of Come Fly With Me,
So the biggest challenge that you have, you're saying, is that it's overcoming the way that people perceive you?
Yeah, sometimes, and also because I'm a little bit risque, which I rein it in for certain things, like performing for senior centers and things like that.
Well, that's good. You don't want to give them a heart attack.
So I try my best to remember that part, but sometimes that's the hardest part, is the perception and so you have to choose the right material. Mm-hmm. and it sounds like a cliche, but stay true to who you are, which is hard because people sometimes in general decide who you're supposed to be based upon who they've met or who they need for you to be, or whatever the case is. So I'm just me, and I'm a little bit kooky, a little bit sassy, yeah. Passionate, energetic, and all of those things. But once people settle in, it's like, oh yeah, you're very unique. Or people will say, oh yeah, Grace, that's definitely you.
Well, I've seen a number of videos of you, and clearly you have your own unique style and personality, and it's very passionate. That I can see.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's very obvious you really enjoy what you're doing. That I can tell.
I love what I do.
Yeah.
I really, really do. I don't care if it's one person in the audience or 1,000 people in the audience. It's all the same to me. I really love what I do, and that's when I'm alive.
And that shines through. That shines
through.
Thank
you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad you said that, because it really is. That's when I'm alive. Like, people talk about other things in their life that, that's when they feel alive. When I'm on stage or in that doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be a big stage, just anything where I'm performing. Oh my God, that's my heaven. That's my heaven. My idea of, like, if I have to die, let it be that I drop dead right after my last great song, and and people think I'm being dramatic. Die with the sound of applause. Grace.
And then maybe you go to heaven, and that is heaven.
Yeah.
You get to play in front of a big crowd forever.
Yes, forever. Right.
So I'm curious. You were talking about the material that you select. Do you actively select material for each show based on the kind of venue you're in or the kind of audience you're going to play before?
Yeah, and sometimes you change, or someone will request a song,
mm-hmm.
and so that's for the cover songs. And then, of course, my original songs, I always try to incorporate a few of those in there. Not, always try to incorporate a few of those. But the interesting thing is that sometimes somebody will request one of your original songs, and the first time they do, you look at them like they're crazy, like, no, that's my song. Like, they don't know what they're asking for anymore.
Right.
Like, no, that's my song. I know. I go, oh, okay. and then you do it, and some of them have become sort of staples, in venues where they're waiting for that and to sing along or whatever craziness I will do that evening as a result of it. So
generally speaking, I'm imagining that you generally are performing before adult audiences, not kids.
Yeah. Oh, no, I'm not a child. No, I'm not a kids performer at all. No. No.
Your material.
I can't hold it together that much.
Yeah, your material. No. Some of it's a little on the adult side too.
Yes. No. Even when I think I'm holding it together, no. I'm real clear that it's like no, adults only. No. Although in Russia and in some of the foreign countries,
mm-hmm.
and Ukraine and places like that, and in Israel, that people will bring their children to jazz clubs at night.
Oh, really?
But I didn't know it the first time, and I walk out in my sexy outfit with, cleavage down to your hoo-ha and everything, and there is this young little man in his suit sitting center right there in the audience. And I froze like, oh, God, what am I going to do with this?
You weren't expecting
that. And so I look
at
the musician who lives there, and I said, and I sort of turned my back and said, there's a child. He said, oh, no problem. Everybody bring children. It's okay. Don't worry.
Well, you just do your show. That's the.
Yeah, and that's what I did. Although there was a part of me like, oh God, his parents are going to kill me. But no, they loved it. And afterwards, he, came up and asked, bought the CD and asked for an autograph and all that kind of stuff.
Wow.
And took a picture.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
They grow them young there.
Yes. The appreciation for music and for jazz and everything. And then in certain places there were songs that that go over no matter what. Like Cheek to Cheek is a big one. It Had to Be You. All of Me. Those are like three of the jazz songs that no matter what country or what place I'm in, those three songs fly.
Right. Mm-hmm. So you can always program them in.
Always. Sometimes I start with it, so it's sort of like it just brings it to this
warms the audience up. Yeah. I'm a big believer in how you program an evening of songs makes a big difference on how that impacts the audience. Oh, yeah. You can. I went to a show once that the entertainer sang maybe 5 ballads in a row. No, that's not good. I'm a singer, and I was about to lose my mind. Yeah. I was craving a beat. I started jonesing for a beat. Well, you gotta keep. You have to make a flow of it. It can't be one thing over and over and over again. Yeah. That just gets boring, and people don't want to be bored. And different tempos and different, a little salsa. Not that I'm a salsa singer, but you added in a little, samba, a little this, a little that, or you change the tempo of a song that maybe they've only heard this way, and you make it a bossa instead, or things like that, just to change it up for yourself as well as the audience. And it makes it interesting for the musicians. And the musicians know I may decide to change something in the middle of a set and say, oh, no, you know what, let's do it this way. And they go, oh, a gracism? Yeah. A gracism. A gracism, yeah. Is your band that fluid that they can just switch on a dime like that? Oh, yeah. I'm so fortunate that I use a few musicians because, good musicians are not always available for every gig. Of course. So I have, like, I have a stable. I have a stable of about, 6 to 10 musicians that I can rotate and that know me and know my music. And I try to filter in other ones, sort of test them out to see if they can fit my energy and are okay with improv and the fact that the audience is going to possibly talk to me in the middle of while I'm singing and and they know to just keep vamping until I can start. So you surround yourself with really cool under fire musicians who can just swing with whatever which way you're going. Fortunate. Yeah, I'm so fortunate that way. And it's with trial and error. I mean, you start out, you're just working with musicians that
you run into one place or another. You meet at a jam session or someone's recommended them. And not all, for singers especially, not all great musicians are great accompanists. And that's the thing you have to learn, is that, because because other musicians will go, oh man, he's great, he's killer, that they're not necessarily a great accompanist, nor do they even like it. Sometimes they're just doing it like you would work at McDonald's or something, that's like, oh yeah, I'll play for her, whatever.
Have you worked with any musicians who just sort of want to be their own thing, so they're working against you? Do you know what I mean? They're working.
Yeah, I have. That has happened, and that only happen. You usually have to replace them.
Yes.
After that one time, yeah.
Because it's working counter to what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah. Or they won't learn. Like you'll say specifically, there was one musician that it was for a private party, and the people who hired me wanted two of my original songs. With that was part of the deal, is that they wanted two of my original songs. So I sent him the MP3, I sent him the lead sheet, blah blah blah, ahead of time and everything. And okay, I said it's really important that you know these songs and everything. And when we get to the gig and it's now time to do these songs, the first one, Lovers Never Lie in Bed, he plays something that I don't know what he was playing, and I sort of had to try to make it work. And all he kept saying, Steve, was, who wrote this chart? Who wrote this chart? Who wrote this chart? Now, he'd received everything at least 2 weeks ahead of time. So if he needed to write a chart for himself that he thought was so fabulous, he had time to do it.
Sure.
Yeah, who wrote this chart? Well, and my process, and I'll never forget, because, on a gig, you don't want to say, what the hell are you talking about? You have to be cool. And he says, because my process is that I just, I don't learn things ahead of time. And all I said was, well, thank you for letting me know your process.
Well, and enjoy your next gig without me.
Exactly.
You've been obviously live performing for a very long time. So,
yeah.
What have you learned over time that you do differently now that you didn't do when you first started out? How have you grown?
Talk to the audience.
Really?
I really was very shy about that. And I had a friend who passed away, many years ago, that would come and sit in the front row. And she would just go, talk to me, fuck them, talk to me, and sit right in the front row and say that, because I wouldn't talk to I would sing, but I was too shy to talk to the audience, do the patter and, all that kind of thing. And I have to thank her, my friend Gail, and that because she really would come to every show and sit in the front row and say, talk to me, fuck them, talk to me. And and, your friends are what pull you through. Lovers, spouses, all that kind of stuff is nice, but your friends always keep your friends.
That's true. And what do you like to talk about? What tends to be the conversation with an audience?
Oh, well, something I learned, as part of being an actress too, is that at one point I was part of a comedy improv group, and I didn't know that it was a skill. The thing that comedians do about first line, last line, and in the genre of.
Yes.
So I found out that I had a gift, that you give me a first line and a last line and whatever, thing, and I could make up a song.
Wow.
So, yeah. So that was one of the things that and also people think sometimes that because you have a microphone in your hand that you go deaf or hearing impaired, I guess is the proper way now, and that you can't hear them. So sometimes people would be talking about something in the audience, and I now incorporate it in, whatever I'm talking about, or the show or the song or things like that. And don't have a birthday, because I will, ask people a little something about you and then make up the most raunchy birthday song. I do. I'm naughty.
And so you're good at improving birthday songs, is that right?
Yes.
Well, that's
So I asked them. I said, "Well, tell because somebody will say, "Oh, it's my friend's birthday." I said, "Well, tell me something about them." I said anything, their favorite color, blah blah blah, whatever. Just to have a little bit something, so that when I say it, people go, oh, "How does she know that?"
Well, well, I think that, and that you've done a lot of improv on top of that, yeah.
Yeah.
And so,
but I'm not. But I'm definitely not good at being a comedian. I was so awful. I tried stand-up comedy. Oh my God, Steve.
didn't work.
No.
No.
I was terrible.
Were you bombing everywhere?
Oh, I was. Ooh. even when I was telling the story about how bad I was, people were laughing about. I said, "No, don't laugh. I was really that bad." You know. So I'm a good comedic actress, and I'm good at improv. But no, stand up, no.
You gotta have the lines written for you.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, for stand up comedy.
But you're able to riff with an audience.
Yeah.
And
So maybe that is my thing. I just maybe have lost my confidence that I'll never try that again.
Are you able to riff with the audience and make them laugh?
Yeah.
So if you can do that, then that's just a slightly adjusted skill set. But the problem is when you're working against another performer, then they're throwing things at you. It's like a tennis match, and maybe they're throwing things at you that throw you off. So that's the problem.
Oh, maybe. Oh, see. Now we've had therapy and everything. I can go out and conquer the world now.
The doctor is in.
The doctor is in. You have solved it.
Okay, so what kind of songs most attract you, aside from your own, obviously? And you've already mentioned 2 or 3. What do you look for?
That have good lyrics. I'm all about the lyrics. Whether it's something like "Don't Explain" or even the country one, Carrie Underwood. Before, is it Carrie Underwood or Miranda Lambert? I forgot which singer it is that does "Before He Cheats."
I think that's Carrie Underwood.
Yeah, I think it's Carrie Underwood. "Before He Cheats," and some of the country stuff, and that passionate stuff. But also if it's funny and a little bit dark, and
you like to be able
just happy songs, like funny version, like not funny, but very upbeat, like "Bye Bye Blackbird," except that I will throw in different languages for the bye bye, so it's "Das Vidanya," "Sayonara," things like that, so that and get the audience singing along, and then they start calling out whatever their language is and stuff.
It sounds to me like you like to have songs that tell stories.
Yes, without a doubt.
And you probably, I'm going to guess, you work really hard at making those stories feel rich within the singing of the song.
Yeah. Wow. So you're a writer, huh?
Yes, something like that. For 40 years.
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's really wonderful when a singer takes the lyrics and makes something more of them than what's there. You go back to the great crooners. You go back to your Sinatra, your Nancy Wilson, to people like that. They knew how to take the lyrics and plus the lyrics.
Yeah, especially like Nancy Wilson. Oh, there's a song that at one point in my life I did, which was The Greatest Performance, and that it was just like one of those moments that you just love to do it because it was so dramatic and everything. But at the same time, Save Your Love for Me, when I got to the point in my career that I could do a song that I considered a Nancy Wilson song, Wish I Knew Why I'm So in Love with You, and it's like, oh my God, I'm so happy now. Yeah.
It's a question of whether you can paint a picture with those words, right?
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
And how much do you think about that before you take on a song? Do you actually work at that? Do you look at how do I paint the picture?
I listen to it and let it speak to me. Sometimes if it's a new song, like recently a song was someone requested a song that I didn't know, but I've now since added it, which is "Damn Your Eyes," Etta James, "Damn Your Eyes."
Right.
And
I don't know that song.
The person came in and they said, "You have to do this song. This is your song." And I said, "Okay, well, I didn't know it, I mean, once I heard it, I realized I had heard it. It's one of those blues songs, and everything. And so I heard it. I was like, "Oh, wow." And so, because I listen to it while, doing something else, because that way I'm not focused on just, the song. It's like, let me see how it speaks to me when I'm distracted. And now we've incorporated that into the sets. Oh my God, that's one of the showstoppers now.
Right.
Yeah.
And how long ago did you introduce it into your act?
Recently. This was just like maybe about 3 weeks ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's really recently. That's why it was on my mind because a person came in, in fact, it was a first date, and he, requested, and I said, I don't know it. He says, you have to learn this. You have to learn this. And he hasn't been back, or the date, but we tried it, and it's like, oh my God. And then we tell the story about how the guy came in with the first date, so because I'll do that too. We just tell the real story.
Does it help you to bring new material in to keep everything fresh?
Yeah. I mean, I do a lot of familiar material. I have a lot of songs. I don't even know the lyrics to all of the songs. That's part of my gig bag, is to have the notebook with, along with lead sheets and stuff for the musician that may not know a particular song, but
right.
Also a lot of lyrics. When you're doing cabaret, for instance, it's frowned upon to not know the lyrics of every song, and everything.
Right.
But you can't do that when you're doing, clubs and concerts and things like that, because sometimes, you haven't done a song for many years and somebody will request it, and it's like, oh, yeah, I haven't done it for a long time, but wait, I have it here.
Do you actually pull out the lead sheet?
Yeah, I'll pull out the sheet.
Really?
And hold it or put it on the floor or have an audience member come up and hold it.
You like to bring the audience into this thing, don't you?
Yeah.
I think that's really
I
good.
am that person. I am still that person.
Well, you've already expressed it a number of times that you're a big fan too.
Yeah.
So when you're a big fan and then people are a fan of you, then you have a great appreciation for what they're thinking.
Yeah, I do. I am that. I am still the big fan. That's like I would want to be up on the stage.
I think that's
the one thing I want to tell people, especially I won't say female vocalists, but we may not know it as readily, is that when I first started hiring musicians as an actress, SAG-AFTRA actress, when someone when someone calls you for a play or showcase or whatever, that they'll just say, are you available on Tuesday the 24th, right? So we just look in our book or whatever, phone and whatever, and say, oh yeah, I can do that, right? Okay, So the big mistake I made early on was that I would call a musician and say, are you available Tuesday the 24th? And they would say, I need more information. I'd say, well, it's Tuesday. I need more information. Well, it's from, 7 to 9. I need more information. Instead of just saying, how much is it paying? So whenever you're dealing with musicians, say the price first. Start with, hey, Steve, I have a gig. It's $300. It's on Tuesday the 24th in Manhattan. From blah blah. Yeah, you have to say it in that order.
It's all about the money.
The money and location. Money, location, and then how many hours.
Yeah.
So then otherwise they don't care, because if it's the right price, it's like sometimes you can call and say, oh, I have a gig for $450. Yeah, I'm available.
People generally speaking don't want to think of the artists of the world as being mercenary, but it's not true. Artists are mercenaries. They have to eat just like everybody else.
Yeah, but I had to learn. I made that mistake for so long, and I would get so frustrated because it was like I just want a yes or a no. Are you available or not? But I wasn't saying the important part. How much is it paying?
Yes, they're available, but I'm not going to take your $2. You have to pay me more than $2. So it's
because that happens. That didn't even occur to me that that's what was going on, because with actors, it's the date. Like, they won't even ask about the money or anything. It's like, well, no, I'm already booked on the 24th.
Right.
I'm shooting a commercial on the 24th, so it doesn't matter what's going on because I'm already booked.
Right. Right. So let me ask you a really great question that I ask many guests, and that is, for you, what is it that makes a good song good? Is it just the lyrics? Is it what makes a good song good for you?
Original or cover?
Either, whatever you choose.
Okay.
In other words, when you're thinking about songs in general or music in general, what is it about it? What quality makes it good?
Okay. For I guess for both, it's the song that sort of stays in your brain, that just out of the blue it'll pop into your head, and you especially no wait, let me change that. For original songs, that sometimes you're about to write something or you've written something that just stays in your head, that you just hear the lyric or you hear the melody and you go, okay, yeah, this is a good song. And then, and then for cover, the same thing, that it just sort of pops into your head for no reason, that you can be in the middle of doing anything and this song sort of pops into your head. And Crazy Ex-Girlfriend is one of those songs that did
right.
that did that I had to do it because that song kept popping into my head.
Right.
Except I do it like really, she's really psycho when I complete with the laugh,
You put a little extra spin on it, don't you?
Oh, she's to the point that some guys will go, "Oh, you've met my ex?"
Does that ever scare anybody away from you?
No, they just laugh at me or request it.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're going to pick songs that have great dramatic range to them, it's good to be dramatic about them.
Yeah, or at least have fun.
So when a song is more subtle and you think it's a good song, is there something about it? Because clearly you sing subtle songs too, don't you?
Yeah, that you can caress the lyric.
Ooh.
Where you just can feel that almost as if you just can lay back as if you're on a chaise lounge and just caress the lyric.
Wow. I've never heard anybody say caress a lyric before. That's good. Actors, talking about actors get in front of a camera, they say you have to make love to the camera.
Yeah,
and
true.
So you're probably thinking or saying something similar. You've got to make love to the microphone of the song. To the microphone,
yeah. And so, and whether you look at a person in the audience or you close your eyes for a moment or you use the microphone as part of the shtick or whatever, but yeah, you use it all.
Okay, so what do you do to, when you're perhaps, for lack of a better word, in a lull in terms of the way you feel about the work itself, which may never happen for you, I don't know. What do you do? What do you do to refresh the well? How do you refresh?
Sometimes you just rely on professionalism and just know that you have a job to do, and even if in your brain you're going, "Oh God, it's not 12 o'clock yet," that you know that you're a professional, and as a professional, you have a job to do, and that this is temporary.
Yeah. That
12 o'clock will come, and then you can go home and have a hot bath and a glass of Chardonnay, and it's okay. Yeah, but you rely on your professionalism. You rely on, I guess, the technique of just knowing that this is a business and remembering that it's a business, because there's nothing worse than being with even musicians or other actors that forget that you're in a business and this is show business.
Yes, it is show
and you
business.
Are a business person, even when you don't feel like being one.
So I'm guessing that there's been more than one instance where you had to go perform on stage and you didn't either you didn't feel well or you were sick or something like that.
Yeah, or the the producers or the management or something, that they were just evil.
Ooh.
And you wanted to slit your wrist and drink your own blood.
Ooh.
And I used to. In fact, I wish I still have it. I don't know what happened to it. Cher did an interview years ago in some magazine that I cut out and had it, on my mirror for the longest time, when she was doing The Witches of Eastwick, and it said, sometimes the director just hates you. And it happens that sometimes you're working with people, people in charge that just did not want you, but somehow you got the job, and you have to rise above it and show up and do your best work and smile and do everything you're supposed to do on stage, even if you have a migraine after every show.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the I would say one of the things that separates a true professional from not, is that you go on whether or not you're feeling like it or whether you're really in trouble.
Yeah.
It's the same thing for writers and all professionals, truly. I mean, writers, one of the things that I teach in school is that a professional writer continues to write even when they don't feel like it. And or they're not inspired that day. And my assumption is it's exactly the same for a singer or any performer.
Yeah, that sometimes you think, I can't.
You don't
and that's
have
what you're
it.
saying to yourself. I can't. But you have to.
Right.
I can't. I can't.
You just don't have it that day, but you got to dig. Dig deep.
I don't want to look cute. I don't want to do it. I don't. You wish that you were the kid. You know how you see little kids and they go, I don't want to, and you just envy that.
But all that said, most of the time you probably feel pretty good about it.
Yeah. Oh no. And sometimes the endorphins kick in once you start performing, even in the most horrible situation.
Yes.
And even if you're only happy for those few hours or whatever, or not happy, but feeling good about the moment, that you get through it for that reason too. And like I remember once an actress years later told me she was very angry with me for years, because she saw me in the elevator one day, in Manhattan, at some audition, and she says, what advice can you give me if somebody wants to be in show business? And I said, as I've repeated, many people have said it, I didn't originate it, that it has to be something you really love and you can't live without.
Mm-hmm.
That it has to be something that you really can't picture yourself not doing it.
Right.
Otherwise, do anything else but this.
Yeah, it's too hard otherwise.
Yeah. But she thought that I was trying to keep her out of the business because I didn't want any competition. She told me this years later. She says, for years I was mad at you, and I told everybody you were trying to keep me out of the business because you didn't want any competition. She said, but then I found out you really told me the truth. I said, yeah.
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 There's no doubt of that.
It has to be.
It's a passion business. You can't.
Yeah.
You can't do this
business. It can't
business
be something you do because I think I'll get rich or.
Oh no.
And unfortunately, with reality TV, different reality TV shows, it's presented that way, that all you have to do is go up there, sing a song, win a prize, and poof, you're a star, you're rich and famous, and your life is perfect. And no,
it's a lot more to it than that.
There's much more work to do. Yeah.
Much more. So, if you could go back in time and do one thing over that you maybe have a regret, or you could do so much better, is there one thing you would?
Yeah, I would have. I don't really play an instrument anymore. I played clarinet in school and things like that, but I would have stuck to it, because now to be a clarinetist or a saxophonist along with what I do would have been really cool, although I really wanted to be a drummer. So I think I would have just gone against, because again, everyone was, you can't be a drummer, and everything, and I definitely would have just said, yeah, whatever, and done it. That's without a doubt. Yeah.
Yeah. That's it.
And also, in acting, I would have done like a lot of the African American actors now. I would come into the business with a really cool accent, so that everybody would think that when I now I'm an American, I'm the best actress ever.
You come in with the accent and then blow them away because you can do such a great New York or American or whatever.
Oh, I would totally do that. I would totally do that if I could do that over. Hello, darling. I would totally.
I once knew an actress who would go to every audition as dressed as mousy as she could go, and then when she'd go into the room and she'd take a coat off and take her glasses off and pull the hair down and turn into a sex bomb. So
I love it.
So she would really show them that she had range.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. I love her, whoever she is. Well, that was another one of those things when auditioning for theater. I haven't auditioned for theater for a while, so I don't know if it's still true, but I suspect it probably is, that as a woman, that if you didn't wear heels, a dress and heels, to, whatever, audition for that you weren't really taken seriously. I don't know if it's still true, but for the longest time, I was blowing a lot of auditions because I'm in New York. I have walking to do. I wasn't wearing heels.
Yeah, no, I'm sure that's not true anymore.
Thank God.
I'm sure that's not true anymore.
But
so,
you should ask other actors on your next interview
if
to
they
find out.
If they have to wear heels?
If they have to wear heels in order to be taken seriously in theater.
Certainly if they're in show business, they know a few heels, but that's another story.
Yeah. Oh, that was good. I might have to steal that.
You're welcome to it.
Thank you.
So, Grace, we've been talking for almost an hour, and so I'm going to ask you the famous last two questions.
Okay.
You've clearly been around for a bit, and you've had a lot of experiences. Can you share with us any particular experience, or more than one, that is either quirky or oddball or offbeat or weird or just plain funny?
Well, there are two that come to mind. My first celebrity appearance when I got on All My Children,
right,
or how I got my first voiceover. So I don't know which one is, but I think probably the first celebrity appearance on All My Children, celebrity event rather, not appearance, celebrity event.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm in Philadelphia or somewhere, and it's an outside event, something or other. And so we have to go to the restroom in some tent somewhere, and I'm standing there dressed and so happy that, I'm Vera from All My Children, and I'm here with all the other soap people, and it's so cool, and I'm just so happy. But I was fairly new on the show, and two girls look at me, and they sort of recognize me because I was, kind of new. And they look at me, and they walk around me and look me up and down and look me up and down. They whisper to each other. Then they look back at me, and then they stand in front of me. And one says, "Do you know who she is?" And the other one says, "Mm-hmm. Who is she?" "She's on All My Children." "Well, which one is she?" Now, I'm standing right there. They're talking right in front of me. And they said, "Well, which one is she?" "She's the ugly one."
Oh, no.
Yes. So now I have to spend the rest of the day only thinking about the ugly one.
Good Lord. But that's not true.
Thank you. But it's one of those things that sticks in your brain forever.
Yeah, that doesn't wash away easy.
No. Now, and then you said maybe tell the other one. Is there time for me to tell you?
Sure, go for it. Go for it.
Okay. So my first voiceover audition, talk about ignorance is bliss.
Yeah.
So I was sent to an audition for barbecue sauce, and it was supposed to be a print audition, or print go-see rather, a print go-see by the agent. So I'm sitting out there, and the casting director comes out and says, "Okay, who's next?" And I just got up because that was like my first audition, Who's next? And I just stand up and go in, and I sit down, and it's a microphone, and I'm sitting there in front of the microphone, looking around, thinking like there must be hidden cameras or something, because this is my very first audition. I'd never, and I'm thinking there must be hidden cameras, because how could they take a picture of me for a print audition, print go-see, in front of a microphone? But okay. So, they give me the copy. Now I'm reading it cold because I wasn't supposed to be there for that. And so I read it, and I'm still looking around trying to find the camera and trying to smile and do the copy at the same time, thinking that the cameras are all taking pictures of me while this is going on.
Right.
I do it, and then, go and finish. And then I get a call from my agent maybe a half hour later, which was fast, right?
Yeah.
And she says, "Grace, where did you go?" And I said, "To blah, blah agency." She said, "No, where did you go?" I said, "Well, I auditioned." She says, you booked the voiceover spot, but I didn't send you for a voiceover spot." And I booked it.
But you got the gig anyway.
I got the gig. Ignorance is bliss. Never did go to the print thing because I thought I was there.
Well, the agent was happy in any direction.
I know, and it opened up a whole lot of other doors, but it's just so funny that sometimes just go with what God sends you. That just don't question it. Go with it.
As my dad used to say, don't look a gift horse in the mouth.
Yes. So does that fit what you were asking for, the story?
Absolutely. Very good. So you've already given us tons of great advice today, but I'm wondering if you have a singular piece of advice or a tip that you would like to share with the listeners who are maybe just trying to break into the business or maybe are in and trying to get to that next level.
Well, the most important thing that I would like to share and hope that they remember to really stay true to who you are. Mm-hmm. Everyone's going to try to change you and mold you into what they think they need or what they think you should be, how you should look, what your photos should look like, how you should dress, how long your hair should be, or all these things. And if you're a little quirky, if you're a little weird, if you're a little sassy and saucy, don't fight it. Just be it, because that's who you are, and there's only one you, and God created you to be just who you are.
Very good. I think that's really important, because a lot of people try to be something they're not.
Yeah, to fit in or to fit what, nobody, and the words you should just smack somebody if they try to say it to you. Nobody does that. That's okay, that's the very thing I'm going to do.
Well, that separates you from the crowd.
Yeah.
And it makes you uniquely you and gives you your own voice.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's very wise advice. Grace, this has been a tremendous pleasure to have you on the show today, and so much fun. And I thank you so much for coming on the show. My pleasure, and thank you so much for including me in your circle of fabulous people. Oh, well, thank you so much. And thank you. Grace has given us the very good fortune today to be able to play one of her original songs. This is from Grace's CD, Grace Garland, Lady G. And so please enjoy now, Before You Fall Asleep.
Please let me get home before you fall asleep. Please stay awake a little while longer. Please let my key get in the door in time to kiss you goodnight before you fall asleep. Like a lullaby of love, I'll rock you through the night, listening to you breathe softly next to me. It's been a hard day for you, a harder night for me. Getting home to you is my sanity. Please let me get home before you fall asleep. Please stay awake a little while longer. Please let my key get in the door in time to kiss you goodnight before you fall asleep. Don't let the plane be delayed. Don't let train or traffic stall. I want you to see the affection in my eyes. May your dream include me as I lay by your side. May you never doubt I love you all the time. When we kiss goodnight, a little while longer. Please let my key get in the door in time to kiss you goodnight before you fall. Please let me get home before you fall asleep. Please stay awake a little while longer. Please let my key get in the door in time to kiss you goodnight before you fall asleep. Before you fall asleep. I love you.
And so we've come to the end of today's Story Beat. If you like this podcast, please take a moment to give us a comment, rating, or review on whatever app or platform you're listening to. Your support helps us bring more great episodes to you. This podcast would not have been possible without the generous support of the Center for Media Innovation on the campus of Point Park University. Until next time, I'm Steve Cuden, and may all your stories be unforgettable.